Computers arrived at Carleton in the 1950s. By the 1960s, a 5-week intro course was taught in the Computer Center. However, it was the arrival of Professor Richard Now in 1970 that began the path toward more rigorous study in CS and the eventual major.
You always had in the background this concern, as I alluded to earlier, that we were doing something kind of grubby, kind of like a business major or something like that. But I think most people in the department, and certainly in most other departments, knew we were beyond that. But one student who was on the EPC asked that question, and he put it rather untactfully. He said something like, "I'm not sure we want those kinds of people on campus." Okay, and there was such a backlash to that, okay, that it actually helped our cause, because almost everybody in the room, okay, including the other members on the EPC, kind of cringed at that, okay. So I think inadvertently he helped us, and so we came to this conclusion fairly early that it was a good thing to do.
And people thought the concentration was an okay idea because they kind of thought other majors would find that interesting. So we get the very first concentration called computer science concentration. And then when the dean came and wanted to have concentrations that were interdisciplinary, all of a sudden computer science was not considered interdisciplinary anymore, but we were grandfathered in. So they couldn't get rid of us as a concentration, but they told us maybe a way that we could solve the problem was to just create a major.
However, as they tried to create a major, what to include became an issue.
Employers are looking for this. Okay, we'd get pressure from the computer center. It would be good if you taught the students this, because that's what we're using in the computer center. Okay, we got pressure from the math department to do things that are more mathematical. Got some idea how one could be torn apart by this? I made up my mind. I'm going to find out what's going on in the world of academia. I'm going to find out what's really going on in industry. I'm going to find out things that we're looking ahead. Because if we train students, okay, through 4 years of something that is being used now, in 4 years they're dead on the market. Okay, we didn't want to get into that trap. A lot of places did. I can name colleges not too far from here that got into that. Okay, that put a lot of resources into what's going on now. And those departments are dead entirely. They don't have any majors at all. They had to fire all their faculty because they were not looking ahead. Okay, so did we make compromises? Sure. Okay, but did we jump on every bandwagon that came through the circus? No.
After they established the major, the Math and CS department grew beyond the confines of Goodsell.
So we wrote out a purchase order and it said one new building, estimated cost I think was $4 million, delivery date as soon as possible. And we tucked it into a bunch of other purchase orders for more mundane things, and we sent it over to the business office. And a couple of weeks later, it came back it had worked its way all the way from some low-level person in the business office up to the vice president and treasurer of the college, who had written across it, "I will authorize this purchase order provided you can sell Goodsell for $4 million. So we sent a note back to the treasurer saying, "Thanks for the authorization to sell Goodsell. Watch for our ad in the Northfield News." And that was the beginning.
In the 10 years it took to design and construct the CMC, a temporary expansion called Laird Annex was built.
You know, it was a trailer. It had a lab for just general use at one end, and it had a classroom at the other end, and a couple of offices in between. Very crowded, very hard to get in between. It was hard for the students to get to their seats, so it was really hard to get in there and help them when they were working on something. One of the most exciting parts of watching the CMC get built was having Laird Annex get torn down. They tore it down after the CMC opened, so we just sat in the windows in the lab over there and watched it come down.
In its new home, the CS major grew significantly, leading to a rift in the department.
Math and computer science would meet once a week, and we were one department. We were the mathematics and computer science department. We met together, but what happened was we'd end up where half the people there weren't interested in what the other half of the people were talking about. And it kind of became clear that we had to separate as departments. And there's absolutely no doubt that we separated as departments. We also separated in many other ways too. You know, we don't talk to each other as much anymore. I mean, we all have our offices intermingled together, but if CS ever moves out to another building, that we're gonna lose that, and I think that's a little bit sad.